B&B spoilers Thursday, December 18th. Thomas Forrester is back on the scene. The bold and the beautiful spoilers for Thursday, December 18th, 2025, tease the return of the prodigal son again. Ion Fashion and Thomas. Unlike when Thomas Forrester, Matthew Atkinson, returned to Los Angeles in September, he seems to want to stay this time. He even seems to want to get back into designing the line that put him on the map. With hope for the future starting up again, Thomas wants in on the action. However, Deke Sharp Harrison Cohn has already been hired as the lead designer for the line and fears what could happen now that Thomas is back. His hope for the future designs are legendary, and Deke can only hope to be that good. He just wanted to get that good by having his chance to shine. Hope Logan Annika Noel also wants to give her brother a chance to shine while avoiding Thomas. She is newly married to Liam Spencer, Scott Clifton, and does not want to be in close proximity to the man she ended her marriage for nearly 3 years ago. She fears the attraction and spark between them. After all, she wasn't able to resist it before. There is also unfinished business between Hope and Thomas. Katie's big decision. While Katie Logan, Heather Tom, is flattered and floored that Dollar Bill Spencer, Don Diamant, wants to gift her with her very own fashion house as a wedding present, she is not 100% sure she can accept it. Bill and Will Spencer, Crew Morrow, want to know why, so Katie is forced to explain her feelings. It's hard for Katie to leave Forrester Creations behind after working there for so many years. She even ran the company once, although Ridge Forrester, Torsten K., claims that was a dark time in his family's history. Katie would also be leaving her sisters behind, as they are devoted Forresters now. Will Bill be able to ease Katie's fears and convince her that branching out on her own is the right thing to do? If anything, it will give us some more fashion wars, something this soap now desperately needs. The fashion world of Los Angeles is reeling, and for fans of the bold and the beautiful, the latest turn in Thomas Forrester's journey has left hearts heavy. After months of speculation, the sad news surrounding Thomas, Matthew Atkinson, has finally come to a head, and it's a bittersweet mixture of professional triumph and personal heartbreak. As of late December 2025, the drama at Forrester Creations has shifted from the runway to the very soul of the Forrester family. Here is everything you need to know about the current sad news regarding Thomas Forrester and what it means for the future of the show. 1. The bittersweet return. Success at a cost. For months, viewers have begged for Thomas to return from Paris and reclaim his throne as the lead designer for Hope for the Future, HFTF. This week, that wish finally came true, but it arrived with a sting. While Thomas's return to the design office was a moment of celebration for Steffi and Ridge, it has triggered a wave of sad news for other fan-favorite characters. Thomas didn't just come back to design, he came back to dominate. In a ruthless move backed by Steffi, Thomas has effectively pushed out Deke Sharp, the talented newcomer who had been finding his footing on Hope's line. For many fans, the sadness lies in seeing Thomas revert to his Forrester-first elitism. Watching him dismiss Deke as a pizza maker's son showed a colder, more arrogant side of Thomas that we hoped he'd left behind in France. 2. The sad news for Thope fans. If you were rooting for a Thope, Thomas and Hope reunion this Christmas, the latest spoilers are a major letdown. Hope's rejection. Hope Logan is not greeting Thomas with open arms. Instead, she is visibly unsettled and defensive. The power struggle. Thomas is using his return to exert control over Hope's line, causing a massive rift. No romance in sight. Rather than a romantic spark, the air between them is thick with resentment. Hope is fighting to protect Deke's job, putting her in direct opposition to Thomas for the first time in years. Internal conflict. Thomas seems to be choosing his legacy and birthright over the emotional growth he supposedly achieved. The sadness for viewers is watching a character we love become the antagonist in his own story once again. 3. The rumors of a short-term stay. Perhaps the saddest news of all for Matthew Atkinson fans are the mounting rumors that this return is only temporary. While Thomas is back on our screens today, Several industry insiders and red flags suggest he may not be staying for the long haul. Red flag description: the credit roll. Thomas is currently listed in the recurring section of the credits, not the contract section. Missing: Douglas Thomas returned to LA alone. The fact that Douglas stayed in Paris suggests Thomas doesn't plan on staying permanently. Short-term filming reports suggest Matthew Atkinson may have only filmed for a limited window to facilitate a specific storyline pivot. If Thomas is only back to stir the pot and then flee back to Europe, it feels like a false start for a character who deserves a deep, meaningful redemption arc. For the impact on the Forrester family, the return of Thomas has also created a sad divide within the family. Steffi versus Hope. This is reigniting the decades-old Logan versus Forrester war. Steffi's unwavering support for Thomas at the expense of Hope's wishes is tearing the office apart. Ridge's dilemma. Ridge is caught between his prodigal son and his desire for peace with Brooke. The tension is palpable, and it's clear that Thomas's presence is a ticking time bomb for Ridge's marriage. 5. What happens next? The today's sad news isn't just about a single plot point. It's about the feeling that Thomas Forrester is a man without a true home. He is too Forrester for the Logans to trust and too volatile for the Forresters to fully rely on. Will Thomas realize he's hurting the woman he loves? As the Christmas episodes approach, fans are bracing for a possible exit. If Hope continues to reject his professional and personal advances, Thomas may decide that Los Angeles holds too many ghosts. Why this news hits so hard? Thomas Forrester has always been one of the most complex characters on daytime TV. We've seen him go from an obsessed villain to a devoted father and a brilliant artist. Seeing him return only to cause pain to others and potentially face another departure is a tough pill for the bold fandom to swallow. Is Thomas Forrester truly back, or is this just a heartbreaking goodbye disguised as a homecoming? Only time will tell, but for now, the mood in the fashion house is anything but celebratory. The mood in Los Angeles is heavy, the air thick with unresolved pain and memories no one wanted stirred again. Just when the Forrester family thought they could breathe, just when old wounds had begun to scar over, fate delivers a devastating blow. Thomas Forrester is back on the scene, and his return is not triumphant, not hopeful, but heartbreakingly ominous. For many, Thomas's name alone is enough to reopen chapters filled with manipulation, obsession, regret, and irreversible loss. His return doesn't bring closure. It brings chaos. And on Thursday, December 18th, The Bold and the Beautiful delivers one of its saddest and most emotionally charged episodes yet. A return no one was ready for. Thomas Forrester's reappearance is not announced with fanfare. There is no warm welcome waiting for him, no open arms. Instead, his return lands like a storm cloud over Forrester Creations. Dark, sudden, and deeply unsettling. Those who spot him first can hardly believe their eyes. The man standing there looks familiar, yet profoundly changed. Gone is the confident swagger. In its place is a quiet heaviness, a haunted expression that suggests a soul weighed down by guilt and sorrow. Thomas hasn't come back to reclaim power or romance. He hasn't come back to fight. He's come back because he has nowhere else to go. Ridge Forrester faces his greatest fear. No one is hit harder by Thomas's return than Ridge Forrester. For Ridge, this is not just the return of a son, it's the return of years of regret. Ridge has spent so long trying to protect his family from Thomas's darkness that he never stopped to ask whether Thomas himself was drowning. Now, seeing his son again, Ridge is torn between instinctive love and deep, lingering fear. Can he trust Thomas again? Should he even try? The pain in Ridge's eyes says it all. This isn't anger. It's heartbreak. Ridge wonders if bringing Thomas back into the fold will destroy what little peace the family has left. And yet, turning his back on his son feels like a betrayal he may never forgive himself for. Steffi's world shatters again. If Ridge is conflicted, Steffi Forrester is devastated. Steffi has fought harder than anyone to put distance between her family and the chaos Thomas once brought. She's built boundaries out of necessity, not cruelty. Seeing her brother again doesn't stir hope, it stirs panic. Her reaction is immediate and visceral. Steffi doesn't see a broken man seeking redemption. She sees the ghost of everything she's tried to bury. She fears for her children, for her marriage, for her fragile sense of safety. And what hurts most is this. Steffi still loves Thomas. That love makes the fear unbearable. Her voice trembles as she demands answers. Why now? Why here? And what does Thomas want? But Thomas has no clear response, only regret. Hope Logan is caught in the crossfire. As always, Hope Logan becomes an unwilling focal point in Thomas's orbit. Thomas's history with Hope is painful, complicated, and deeply scarred by obsession and manipulation. Even though time has passed, the trauma lingers. Seeing Thomas again sends a chill through her. Hope tries to stay composed, but inside she's unraveling. She wonders whether this return is a coincidence or a warning. Has Thomas truly changed? Or is history about to repeat itself? Hope fears that Thomas's presence will reignite tensions she worked so hard to escape. She worries about Steffi. She worries about Ridge. And she worries about herself, because part of her knows how easily the past can pull you back under. A man haunted by his own reflection. What makes this return especially heartbreaking is Thomas himself. This is not the manipulative mastermind of the past. This is a man broken by his own actions. Thomas carries the weight of every mistake he's made, every relationship he's damaged, every line he crossed in the name of love, obsession, and control. He doesn't ask for forgiveness because he doesn't believe he deserves it. In quiet moments, Thomas admits he's lost, that he doesn't trust himself, that he's afraid of the damage he might still be capable of causing. His pain is real. His remorse is palpable. But in the world of the bold and the beautiful, remorse doesn't erase consequences. Brooke Logan's silent dread. Brooke Logan senses the shift immediately. She doesn't need to see Thomas to feel the tremor his return causes. Brooke has seen this story before. She knows how easily Thomas's presence destabilizes Ridge, how quickly old arguments resurface, how fragile peace truly is. Her concern isn't loud, but it's profound. Brooke fears that Thomas's return will reopen the cracks in her relationship with Ridge. She fears that loyalty to his son will once again put her second, and she fears that the family will fracture in ways that can't be repaired. Her sadness isn't dramatic. It's quiet, resigned, and deeply human. Forrester Creations feels the impact. The shockwaves don't stop with family. Forrester Creations itself feels the tension. Employees whisper. Eyes follow Thomas when he walks through familiar halls. His legacy looms large, both brilliant and destructive. Some believe in second chances. Others remember too, well, the damage he left behind. The question on everyone's mind is the same. Does Thomas belong here anymore? And more painfully, did he ever? A family on the brink. Thursday's episode paints a devastating picture of a family standing on the edge. Ridge is pulled apart by love and fear. Steffi is fighting to protect everything she's built. Hope is trying to hold on to peace. Brooke is bracing for heartbreak. And Thomas is standing in the middle of it all, alone. No one wins in this moment. There are no heroes, only people hurting in different ways. A return that changes everything. Thomas Forrester's return isn't about revenge, power, or romance. It's about reckoning. It's about whether a man defined by his worst mistakes can ever move forward. It's about whether a family shattered by trauma can ever truly heal. And it's about how love, when tangled with fear, can become something painfully fragile. Thursday, December 18th, delivers one of the bold and the beautiful's most sorrowful chapters, a reminder that sometimes the saddest returns are the ones we never wanted but can't escape. As Thomas stands once more among the Forresters, one truth becomes painfully clear. Peace truly is. Her concern isn't loud, but it's profound. Brooke fears that Thomas's return will reopen the cracks in her relationship with Ridge. She fears that loyalty to his son will once again put her second, and she fears that the family will fracture in ways that can't be repaired. Her sadness isn't dramatic. It's quiet, resigned, and deeply human. Forrester Creations feels the impact. The shockwaves don't stop with family. Forrester Creations itself feels the tension. Employees whisper. Eyes follow Thomas when he walks through familiar halls. His legacy looms large, both brilliant and destructive. Some believe in second chances. Others remember too, well, the damage he left behind. The question on everyone's mind is the same. Does Thomas belong here anymore? And more painfully, did he ever? A family on the brink. Thursday's episode paints a devastating picture of a family standing on the edge. Ridge is pulled apart by love and fear. Steffi is fighting to protect everything she's built. Hope is trying to hold on to peace. Brooke is bracing for heartbreak. And Thomas is standing in the middle of it all, alone. No one wins in this moment. There are no heroes, only people hurting in different ways. A return that Today changes is a bittersweet day for the millions of fans who tune in to the sun-drenched, high-drama world of the bold and the beautiful. The latest updates from the hallowed halls of Forrester Creations have sent shockwaves through the Bridge, Shin, and Thope fandoms alike. While the return of a fan favorite is usually a cause for celebration, the circumstances surrounding Thomas Forrester's latest appearance and the upheaval at Ion Fashion, the show's pulse on the industry, have left viewers feeling a profound sense of sadness and uncertainty. The prodigal son returns, a bittersweet homecoming. For months, the absence of Matthew Atkinson has left a void in the Forrester family dynamic. Thomas Forrester has always been the show's most complex figure, a man who oscillates between a visionary designer and a troubled soul haunted by his past obsessions. As of this week, Thomas has officially stepped back into the CEO office, but the sad news lies in the wake of destruction his return is already causing. While his sister, Steffi, and father, Ridge, welcomed him with open arms, the emotional cost is staggering. Thomas isn't just back to draw sketches. He's back to reclaim his throne, and in doing so, he is dismantling the hard-earned peace of those around him. The heartbreak for Hope Logan. The most tragic element of this return is the immediate impact on Hope Logan. Fans will recall the agonizing journey Hope went through to find her footing after the collapse of her relationship with Thomas. Just as she began to find stability, personally with Liam and professionally with her new protégé, Deke, Thomas's shadow has once again fallen over her life. The sad news today is the realization that Hope's professional autonomy is being stripped away. Steffi's insistence that Thomas replace Deke as the lead designer for Hope for the Future, HFTF, feels like a betrayal of Hope's agency. Watching Hope's eyes fill with tears as she realized she would have to choose between her career and her emotional well-being was a grab-the-tissues moment for longtime viewers. Ion Fashion, a legacy in jeopardy. In the world of B&B, Ion Fashion isn't just a magazine or a catchphrase. It represents the public legacy of the Forrester name. Today's episodes signaled a heartbreaking shift in that legacy. Eric Forrester's forced retirement. Perhaps the saddest news of all involves the patriarch himself, Eric Forrester. For decades, Eric has been the heartbeat of the fashion world. Seeing him put out to pasture by his own son, Ridge, has been a bitter pill for fans to swallow. The latest reports from the fashion front suggest that the Forrester empire is fracturing. With Eric feeling discarded and collecting his designs in a dark, empty office, the sense of an era ending is palpable. The Ion Fashion is no longer looking at a unified family. It is looking at a dynasty at war with its own roots. The rise of a rival house. The sadness today is compounded by the news that Katie Logan is officially leaning toward leaving Forrester Creations. Backed by Bill Spencer, Katie is poised to start her own rival fashion house. While we love a boss girl moment for Katie, The sadness stems from the total dissolution of the Forrester/Logan alliance. We are watching a family business tear itself apart at the seams. Is Thomas leaving again? The rumors that won't quit. Adding to the heavy hearts of the Thomas fans is the looming red flag regarding Matthew Atkinson's contract status. Insider reports and filming schedules suggest that this mission Thomas is on maybe a short-lived guest appearance rather than a permanent return. The thought of Thomas returning just to cause a rift between Steffi and Hope, only to disappear back to Paris, is the definition of sad news for those who wanted to see a genuine redemption arc. Fans are taking to social media to express their frustration. We want Thomas back to stay, not just to be a plot device to break up the Logans and Forresters again. Why this news hits so hard? The Bold and the Beautiful has always been about more than just clothes. It's about the messy, beautiful, and often painful ties that bind families together. Today feels particularly heavy because Deke's career is the collateral damage. The young, talented Deke Sharp represents the new blood of the industry. Seeing his dreams go up in smoke just to make room for a Forrester ego is a relatable and stinging tragedy. The loss of mentorship, with Eric sidelined, the moral compass of the fashion house is gone. Cyclical trauma. We are seeing the same patterns of obsession and family infighting repeat, making fans wonder if these characters will ever find true happiness. What's next for the Forresters? As the fashion wars begin, the landscape of Los Angeles will never be the same. With Bill Spencer whispering in Katie's ear and Thomas asserting his dominance at HFTF, we are headed for a Christmas season filled with more tension than cheer. The sad news of today is a reminder that in the world of high fashion, the most beautiful exteriors often hide the deepest heartaches. Whether you are Team Taylor or Team Brooke, Team Thomas or Team Liam, today we all mourn the loss of the piece that briefly held Forrester Creations together. Today's Bold and the Beautiful news lands like a heavy silence in a crowded room, an ache that lingers long after the final line is spoken. What should have been a triumphant, glossy celebration of creativity and renewal has instead become a heartbreaking reckoning. Ion Fashion, Forrester Creations' much-hyped showcase of vision and rebirth, has taken an unexpected turn, one that places Thomas Forrester back in the spotlight and not in the way anyone hoped. This is not a story of applause and champagne. This is a story of ghosts returning, wounds reopening, and a family realizing that style can't cover scars. A night meant for brilliance. Forrester Creations has always believed in spectacle. From sweeping staircases to glittering gowns, the fashion house understands how to turn a moment into magic. Ion Fashion was supposed to be just that, a declaration that the future is bold, refined, and finally free of the chaos that has haunted the Forrester name. The room shimmered with promise. Editors leaned forward. Cameras flashed. Designs flowed down the runway like living art. Precise tailoring, daring silhouettes, and whispers of innovation that suggested a house reborn. For a brief, intoxicating moment, it felt as though the past had loosened its grip. But in the Bold and the Beautiful, the past never stays quiet for long. Thomas Forrester is back, and everything changes. When Thomas Forrester stepped into the room, the temperature dropped. Conversations faltered. Smiles froze. It wasn't outrage that filled the air. It was something far heavier. Recognition. Memory. Fear. Thomas's return to the Forrester orbit has always been complicated, but tonight it felt devastatingly personal. This was not a villain bursting in with a dramatic reveal. This was a broken man quietly reclaiming space in a world that hasn't decided whether it can forgive him or survive him. His eyes carried something new. Not arrogance, not triumph, but exhaustion. Regret. The unmistakable weight of a man who knows he has caused irreparable damage and yet still hopes, perhaps foolishly, that redemption might be possible. For many in that room, Thomas's presence didn't symbolize a second chance. It symbolized pain laid bare. No one felt the impact of Thomas's return more deeply than Hope Logan. Hope has fought too hard for peace to pretend this didn't hurt. The history between them is not ancient. It's raw, complicated, and etched into every step she's taken to rebuild her life. Tonight, as the applause for Ion Fashion faded, Hope's expression told the real story. Some wounds don't heal just because time passes. She stood tall, but her eyes betrayed her. Thomas's return didn't just threaten her sense of safety. It threatened the fragile balance she's worked desperately to maintain. For Hope, this wasn't about business or fashion. It was about survival, about trusting herself again in a world that once gaslit her into doubting everything. And tonight, that trust cracked. Steffi Forrester's silent battle. Steffi Forrester is no stranger to conflict, but this one cuts differently. As Thomas's sister, she's caught between blood and truth, between loyalty and responsibility. She has defended him before. She has believed in his recovery. But standing at Ion Fashion, watching the tension ripple through the room, Steffi couldn't ignore the cost. Every whispered concern, every wary glance toward Hope, every reminder that Thomas's actions didn't just affect one person, they fractured an entire family. Steffi's silence spoke volumes. Supporting Thomas now doesn't feel brave, it feels dangerous. And yet, turning her back on him feels like another kind of loss. This is the quiet tragedy Steffi carries tonight. Loving someone the world may never trust again. Fashion as a mask for grief. Ion Fashion was meant to spotlight creativity, but instead it became a mirror, reflecting how much pain still lives beneath the surface at Forrester Creations. The designs were flawless, yes, but behind the seams were secrets, regrets, and unresolved trauma. Ridge Forrester watched from the sidelines, his pride tangled with worry. He knows better than anyone that talent doesn't excuse harm, that brilliance doesn't erase betrayal. Seeing Thomas back in the fold forces Ridge to confront his greatest fear, that in trying to save his son, he might lose everyone else. Brooke Logan, too, felt the weight of the moment. Her instincts screamed caution. She has lived through the fallout of Thomas's obsession, and she knows how quickly things can spiral. Tonight wasn't just sad, it was ominous. The applause that rang hollow. When the final model exited the runway, applause filled the room, but it felt forced, almost mournful. The crowd clapped, because that's what you do when the lights go down. But beneath the surface, something had broken. Ion Fashion succeeded as an event. As a turning point, it failed spectacularly, because fashion can dazzle the eye, but it can't quiet the heart. Thomas's regret, too little, too late? Thomas didn't make a grand speech. He didn't demand forgiveness. He simply stood there, absorbing the judgment, the fear, the skepticism. And for the first time in a long time, he seemed to understand it. But regret, no matter how genuine, doesn't undo damage. Viewers can feel the ache of a man who wants to be better, but doesn't know if the world will ever allow him to be. Is Thomas truly changed? Or is this another chapter in a cycle that leaves devastation in its wake? That question hangs heavy tonight, unanswered and unbearable. A house divided again. The saddest truth emerging from today's B&B News is this. Forrester Creations is divided once more, not by competition or scandal, but by fear. Fear of repeating the past. Fear of trusting the wrong person. Fear of losing hard-won peace. Hope's line, "Hope for the future," now feels painfully ironic. How can there be a future when the past keeps returning, uninvited and unresolved? Even the name Ion Fashion takes on a darker meaning. Everyone is watching, waiting, bracing for impact. What happens next feels inevitable and heartbreaking. This isn't the kind of storyline that explodes overnight. It simmers. It creeps. It hurts quietly before it destroys loudly. Thomas's return sets off a chain reaction that no amount of couture can stop. Relationships will fracture. Old alliances will be tested. And someone, perhaps many someones, will pay the price. Today's news is sad not because something dramatic happened, but because something dangerous began. A fragile calm has been disturbed. And in the bold and the beautiful, that almost always leads to heartbreak. Final thoughts. Beauty can't save broken trust. Tonight, Eye on Fashion proved that Forrester creations can still create beauty. But B&B also reminded us of a painful truth. Beauty means nothing without trust. Thomas Forrester's return is not a victory, it's a question mark. A test of forgiveness. A challenge to every character who has fought for peace. And as the lights dim on this glamorous yet sorrowful night, one thing is clear. The most devastating designs aren't stitched in silk or satin. They're woven from regret, fear, and the unrelenting weight of the past.